Think back over the last years. How many times did you say, everything will work out, but inside you were not convinced? You hoped, but hope without law is nothing but a soft wish, and the world does not obey wishes. It obeys the man who becomes definite, disciplined, and decided. Look honestly at the moments when things fell apart. The bill that arrived at the worst possible time. The opportunity you wanted, slipping into the hands of someone less capable. The argument at your dinner table that left you wondering if your family still believed in you. These moments were not random punishments, they were warnings, warnings that life does not arrange itself kindly for the man who drifts. Yet notice something else. There were also moments where something worked out in your favor, when you moved with conviction, even briefly, and life opened. You made a decision with clarity, and the right person appeared. You spoke with belief, and doors opened where none existed. Those moments showed you the truth you have been blind to. Life bends when you bend yourself. Most men never understand this. They wait for life to behave before they behave. They wait for calm before they act. They wait for confidence before they decide. That is why they spend their years watching younger, bolder men walk past them into the very success they once believed belonged to them. And nothing stings like watching another man live your dream. Consider the effect this has had on your household. Think of the evenings when you sat at the table speaking about your plans, only to watch doubt flicker in the eyes of the person who loves you most. Not because she does not believe in you, but because she has heard your promises before. She has watched you rise with the morning sun and fall back into the same habits by nightfall. Think of your children. They study you far more than they study their books. They see when you carry yourself with purpose, and they see when you shrink beneath the weight of your own hesitation. And in your quiet moments, you fear the thought that they may inherit your doubt instead of your potential. And then there are your rivals, the men who once stood beside you, who now stand ahead. They greet you with polite smiles, but their eyes reveal what they think, that you are a man who talks grandly, but accomplishes little. Their success does not hurt you because you envy them. It hurts because you know you are capable of more. But all of this can change with a single decision. A man becomes powerful the moment he refuses to leave outcomes to chance. The moment he declares, everything works out for me because I will make it so. This is not arrogance, this is obedience to law. Hill proved again and again that life answers definiteness with obedience. Listen carefully to this. Every time you believed things would work out, but they did not, the fault was not with the universe. It was with the weakness behind the belief you wished instead of commanded. You hoped instead of decided. You waited instead of acting. Faith without action is like a torch without flame. It looks useful, but brings no light. Real faith is not soft. Real faith is a hammer. It strikes, it shapes, it commands. And when a man learns to move with that kind of faith, life begins to align in ways that others call luck. Luck is nothing but law in disguise. Law responding to the man who finally refuses to drift. Picture the version of yourself who no longer clings to survival. The man who walks through his home with the stature of one who knows where he is going. Imagine the look on your partner's face when she sees that you no longer speak of your goals with trembling hope, but with the calm certainty of a man who has already claimed them. Imagine your children watching you rise with discipline instead of excuses. Imagine giving them a father who proves that life is not something to be feared, but something to be shaped. One day they will say, everything works out for me, because they saw it work out for you. That is legacy. That is leadership. And imagine your rivals then. The men who once dismissed you will begin to watch you with caution. They will notice the shift in your tone, the steadiness in your movements, the clarity in your decisions. They will feel even before you speak that you have become a man who is no longer tossed by circumstance but guided by intention. But this future will demand something of you. It will demand that you release the idea that life is meant to treat you kindly without your participation. It will demand that you abandon the belief that fortune is delivered to those who wait patiently. The world respects only the man who stands, speaks, and moves with authority. You must become the kind of man who does not merely hope for things to work out, but insists upon it. You must speak your desires aloud until your subconscious accepts them as commands. You must act with such direction that confusion flees from your presence. And when setbacks arise, you must remain unmoved, knowing that even apparent failure bends toward the man who does not surrender. Say to yourself now with firmness, not with fragility, everything works out for me because I make it work. Feel the weight of those words. Feel the responsibility inside them. Feel the truth that you have avoided for years, that life is not cruel. Life is obedient. It will deliver whatever you demand with enough definiteness and enough persistence. You are not here to be a spectator in your own story. You are here to shape it. You are here to rise above the fears passed down to you, above the doubts spoken around you, above the habits that once betrayed you, and if you will listen to the laws you are about to hear, you will soon become a man whose entire existence stands as proof that everything does indeed work out when the man works. This is your moment. The moment you stop waiting for things to fall into place and begin placing them yourself. The moment your family sees the return of the man they always believed you could be. The moment you step into the role you were meant to claim. Make life work out, not by chance, but by command. Part 1. The law that makes life bend in your favor. I have watched men wander through life believing that hope alone would rescue them. Yet hope without definiteness is nothing but a silent confession of weakness. Life does not bend for the man who wishes. Life bends for the man who decides. The moment a man becomes definite, he calls into motion laws that the idle man never discovers. A man wastes years, sometimes decades, because he drifts. Drift is not a single choice. It is the absence of choice. It is the mind waiting for life to become simple, when life is waiting for the man to become strong. Every year a man remains indefinite. He loses opportunities that would have obeyed him had he acted with purpose. The law that governs success is not hidden. It is simple. Outcomes obey the man who decides they must. This is not arrogance. It is obedience to the same principle that governs every triumph in human history. A clear decision backed by unwavering action produces results that seem miraculous to those who live by hope alone. Look at Henry Ford. His rise did not come from genius or favorable conditions. It came from a decision that left no place for retreat. He did not wonder whether his idea would work. He declared that it would, and the world obeyed. Decision shaped his fortune long before steel or machinery played their part. Consider Andrew Carnegie. He rose from poverty not because life favored him, but because he held an image of his future so clearly that every action he took was pulled toward it. Carnegie decided. Carnegie acted. Carnegie persisted. And life bent beneath the weight of his definiteness. Think of Edison, who refused to consider failure even when thousands of experiments did not yield results. His decision was so firm that the world could not help but submit to his will. The electric light was not the product of chance. It was the product of definiteness enforced by relentless action. Hope is a soft thing. It comforts the idle man but strengthens nothing within him. Hope says, I wish. Faith backed by action says, I will. Only one of these produces movement. Hope soothes the drifting soul. Faith commands the advancing one. A man who wants life to work out for him must abandon hope and embrace command. Responsibility shortens the path more than talent ever could. A man who takes full responsibility for his results saves himself 10 years of wandering. When he says, I am the cause of my fortune or misfortune, He places his hands upon the levers of destiny. Responsibility removes the illusion that he must wait for life to improve. Inner authority always precedes outer achievement. A man cannot command the world until he commands himself. He cannot direct circumstances until he directs his thoughts. When a man becomes master of his own mind, life recognizes him as one who is permitted to lead. His decisions carry weight, and weight creates influence. When I say that everything works out, I do not speak of luck. I speak of law. Life arranges itself around a man who arranges himself around purpose. This is the same law that elevated the great builders of industry, the great leaders of nations, and the great creators of progress. Their success was not fortunate. It was earned by obedience to mental law. The mind must be instructed repeatedly. A single declaration cannot change a man's destiny. But repetition, direct, emotional, unwavering repetition, turns belief into subconscious command. When a man says each day, "Everything works out for me because I make it work," he is rewriting the blueprint of his character. Drift steals a decade. Definiteness returns it. Decision steals another decade from the control of circumstance. Purpose gives it back. A man who becomes definite in thought can save 10, 20, even 30 years of his life. The world calls this luck, but luck is merely law expressed through decisiveness. When a man is definite, his days gain direction. His steps gain force. His speech gains authority. People begin to respond differently. Doors open more easily. Opportunities come into view. Even his posture shifts. He moves through life not as a wanderer, but as a builder. This is the outward expression of inward law. The reason life has not obeyed you thus far is simple. Your decisions have been unclear, your purpose uncertain, your belief incomplete. Life cannot respond to vagueness. It cannot obey indecision. It aligns itself with the man who instructs it, not the one who waits politely for its approval. A clear aim saves years. A man who knows what he wants moves faster than a man who waits to feel ready. Readiness is the illusion that steals a lifetime. The world favors the man who acts while others hesitate. Ford was not ready when he began. Carnegie was not ready. Edison was not ready. Yet they acted, and readiness grew around them. Once a man becomes definite, others begin to see him differently. They may not understand the cause, but they feel the change. His family senses steadiness instead of uncertainty. His colleagues sense direction instead of wandering. His rivals sense danger instead of weakness. The rising man does not become louder. He becomes clearer. When a man decides that everything will work out, he does not wait for conditions to become favorable. He makes them favorable through effort, discipline, and loyalty to his aim. The world respects the man who advances without permission. It bends for him because he bends himself to law. Life bends for the disciplined. It bends for the persistent. It bends for the man who speaks with authority. It bends for the man who refuses to drift. This bending is not mystical. It is mechanical. It is the result of cause and effect, mind over matter, decision over delay. Repeating a commanding idea trains the mind to obey. When you say, "Everything works out for me," and insist upon it daily, your subconscious begins reorganizing your beliefs, habits, and reactions. Soon you act in a way that makes success inevitable. Success follows the man who behaves as though it is already certain. Definiteness shortens the road to destiny. Indecision lengthens it. Drift turns miles into decades. Decision turns decades into days. A man who decides today will accomplish more in 1 year than a drifting man accomplishes in 10. This is not exaggeration. This is law. Say to yourself now, "Everything works out for me because I make it work." Say it with firmness. Say it until your voice gains weight. Say it until doubt retreats. Say it until your subconscious accepts it as truth. A man becomes the words he repeats with conviction. You have wasted enough years waiting for luck. Luck is an excuse created by those who fear responsibility. The man who becomes definite carries his own fortune. He creates his opportunities. He shapes his circumstances. He commands his results. Life will bend in your favor the moment you bend your thoughts in the direction of certainty. The man who knows his aim and refuses to drift will soon find that life has become his servant instead of his master. Say it again and let it shape your spirit. Everything works out for me because I make it work. You are now prepared for the next stage, becoming the man life cannot resist. Part 2, Becoming the Man Life Cannot Resist. I have witnessed throughout my life that opportunity is far less selective than men imagine. Opportunity does not choose the educated over the uneducated, nor the wealthy over the poor, nor the favored over the forgotten. Opportunity chooses only one type of man, the one whose presence declares without a word that he is ready to receive it. Life cannot resist a man who carries himself with certainty. Certainty is not arrogance. It is not the loud speech of the insecure. It is the quiet, unmistakable steadiness that comes from a man who knows where he is going. This posture of certainty is felt long before it is spoken. A man may enter a room and say nothing, yet his bearing communicates intention, clarity, and resolve. Opportunity notices such a man. A man becomes magnetic, not through charm or cleverness, but through disciplined thought. Thought shapes posture. Thought shapes voice. Thought shapes action. When his inner world is ordered, his outer world aligns itself with his will. The magnetic man is simply the one whose mind pulls his surroundings into harmony with his aim. Most men wait for confidence. They believe they must feel strong before they act. This mistake has stolen years from them. Confidence is not given by the world. Confidence is manufactured by action. A man becomes confident only after he forces himself into motion. Confidence is the reward, not the prerequisite. Men lose entire decades waiting for a feeling that would have arrived had they simply acted. Confidence grows when a man decides, when he moves, when he commands himself, even while trembling. The world never grants confidence to the hesitant. It gives confidence to the one who behaves as if he already possesses it. Look at Abraham Lincoln. His certainty was not born of ease. It was born of responsibility. He walked with the gravity of a man who carried the fate of a nation in his mind. Even when criticized, attacked, and misunderstood, he did not waver. That steadiness, quiet, unpretentious, immovable, became the force that held the nation together. Observe Rockefeller. His calm was legendary. In times when others panicked, he walked with composed authority. Men trusted him because he trusted himself. His decisions were clear because his mind was orderly. His presence compelled others to lean upon him. He became irresistible to opportunity because he represented stability in a world of chaos. Consider Charles Schwab. His boldness was not noise, it was a quality of spirit. He approached industry titans not as a servant, but as an equal. His certainty made him welcome in circles far above his origins. Men recognized that Schwab expected success, and therefore he received it. Opportunity met him halfway because he stepped forward with assurance. Life follows the man who walks with intention. When a man drifts, life passes him by. When a man hesitates, life grows indifferent to him. But when he walks steadily, when he speaks clearly, when he acts decisively, life falls into step beside him. Life respects the man who respects his own purpose. This quality of certainty is not a trick. It is the result of mental discipline. A man must train his thoughts the way a craftsman sharpens a blade. If his thoughts are scattered, his presence becomes weak. If his thoughts are firm, his presence becomes strong. Mental discipline makes a man heavy, heavy with purpose, heavy with direction, heavy with quiet power. I call this mental gravity. It is the invisible force by which a man pulls toward himself the conditions that match his state of mind. A man with mental gravity does not chase opportunity. He draws it. His aim becomes the center of a spiritual field that attracts the means of fulfillment. Consistency builds trust, both within oneself and in the eyes of others. When a man holds the same aim day after day, through fatigue, through discouragement, through uncertainty, his reputation becomes granite. Men watch him and say, he will succeed because he is the same today as he was yesterday. Consistency is power. The rising man's reputation changes long before his results appear. His family feels the shift first. They hear conviction replacing uncertainty. They see order replacing chaos. They notice that his promises no longer float in sentiment, but carry substance. The home becomes calmer because the man has become clearer. Rivals sense it as well. They may not congratulate him, but they watch him with new caution. They see a firmness in his movement, a new direction in his tone. They begin to realize that he has outgrown the man he used to be. Rivalry loses its sting when a man grows too strong inwardly to be threatened by comparison. Faith becomes power only when acted upon daily. A single burst of faith accomplishes little. Faith must be practiced the way strength is practiced. Through repetition, through labor, through disciplined belief, faith is a muscle. The more a man uses it, the more life obeys him. Men who lack consistency ask, why does nothing work out for me? The answer is simple. They have not demonstrated to life that they are ready. They shift their aims daily. They drift between intentions. They hold faith without action and desire without discipline. Life cannot commit itself to a man who will not commit himself to his aim. A man becomes irresistible to success when he aligns his thought, speech, and action. When the three are unified, life has no choice but to move. Most men think one thing, speak another, and act on nothing. Their inner conflict repels opportunity. But the man who thinks decisively, speaks with conviction, and acts without hesitation becomes a magnet for achievement. This alignment saves a decade of trial and error. Men who fail spend years trying to patch together scattered efforts. Men who succeed spend their years directing a single force with clarity. One clear aim shortens the path more than 100 scattered efforts. Your rise begins when you decide to embody certainty. Not once, not occasionally, but daily. Certainty is not a feeling. It is a decision sustained by discipline. You do not wait to feel certain. You choose to be certain, and you repeat that choice until your mind obeys your command. To become a man life cannot resist, you must carry yourself as one who expects results, not arrogantly, not boastfully, quietly, steadily, as a man who walks by principle instead of circumstance. Your presence must declare that you lead your own destiny. Say the words now. I walk with intention. I think with purpose. I act with certainty. Say them until the words change your posture. Say them until your family hears truth in your tone. Say them until your rivals feel the shift in your presence. Say them until life itself begins to respond. Life cannot resist the man who rises inwardly. Life cannot ignore the man who acts decisively. Life cannot deny the man who insists upon his destiny. When you cultivate the quality of certainty, you place your hand upon the levers that bend circumstance to your will. You are becoming that man now. Feel it, sense it, accept it, walk in it. Life will adjust itself to the measure of your certainty. Your future will open to the extent that you command it, and the path ahead will straighten as you take each step with purpose. You have learned how the man must be. You are now prepared to learn what the man must do. Part 3, the method that makes everything work out. There comes a moment in every man's journey when mere inspiration is no longer enough. He must know how to make life obey him. He must understand the method by which thought becomes fact, by which faith becomes movement, by which the invisible becomes visible. Without method, desire wanders. With method, Desire commands destiny. This is the method that makes everything work out, not by chance, but by law. You must understand this clearly. Nothing in your life has ever happened without first being shaped in the workshop of your mind. Every triumph began as a thought. Every failure began as a thought permitted to grow unchecked. A man's circumstances are nothing more than the harvest of his own mental activity. When he directs that activity with precision, life must obey. A man cannot rise with scattered thoughts. He cannot succeed with a divided mind. He cannot shape his future while allowing fear, doubt, and indecision to occupy the same chamber where purpose should rule alone. The first step of the method is to establish authority over thought. Without mastery of thought, no other mastery is possible. Directed thought is the force that divides the drifting man from the achieving man. Directed thought is thought chosen, thought commanded, thought held, and thought obeyed. Most men allow their thoughts to run wild like untamed horses, dragging them through fear and hesitation. The advancing man trains his thought like a disciplined steed that carries him toward his aim. To practice directed thought, you must choose a single powerful command that aligns with your desired future. The command for this journey is simple. Everything works out for me. But this command must not be a whisper. It must be spoken with intention, with belief, with repetition. Repetition is the chisel that carves belief into the subconscious. The subconscious mind accepts everything repeated with emotion. It does not argue, it does not question, it does not reason, it obeys. When you speak the command, everything works out for me, with conviction day after day, the subconscious reorganizes your inner condition to match that command. Soon your decisions become more confident, your actions more decisive, your posture more powerful. To imprint the mind, a man must speak his words aloud. Silent thoughts are easily forgotten. Spoken words strike deeper. They vibrate through the body. They echo through the chambers of the mind. They declare to the subconscious, this is the new law by which we live. Spoken words are orders, and the subconscious is a servant that follows orders with exactness. Your old pattern was passive hope. You hoped things would work out, but hope carries no authority. Hope is a request made timidly by a man who fears rejection. Directed thought is a command made by a man who refuses to drift. You must shatter the old pattern. You must abandon the lukewarm belief that life will somehow improve on its own. Consider how Edison approached his aim. He did not say, I hope to create a solution. He said, I will. He held the mental picture of his invention with such clarity that thousands of failures could not shake his resolve. His persistence was not random. It was structured. He visualized the result, repeated the belief, acted daily, and refused to entertain opposing thoughts. Edison did not move by emotion. He moved by method. This is why failure could not defeat him. A man moved by emotion collapses when discouraged. A man moved by method cannot be stopped because his action is not dependent on his mood. Method liberates a man from the weakness of feeling. The formula that governs this method is simple yet profound. Thought arrow, belief arrow, action arrow, identity arrow, destiny. Everything in your life follows this sequence. Thought is the seed. Belief is the soil. Action is the growth. Identity is the tree. Destiny is the fruit. When you alter the thought at the root, you alter the destiny at the crown. Most men react to life instead of commanding it. They wait to see what will happen before deciding how to think. They wait for signs before taking action. This reactive way of living wastes years, sometimes entire lifetimes. The commanding man thinks first, acts second, and watches the world rearrange accordingly. Reaction is the habit of the drifting man. Command is the habit of the rising man. You must cease reacting to life as though you are its servant. You must command life as though you are its partner. You must direct your thoughts with firmness, not wait for your thoughts to direct you. Clarity removes 90% of wasted effort. When a man knows exactly what he desires, his actions become efficient, his mind becomes still, his courage becomes strong. When a man lacks clarity, his energy is scattered. He tries many things and completes nothing. He wanders through half-finished endeavors, wondering why nothing works out for him. Clarity begins with written intention. You must write the sentence, "Everything works out for me because I make it so," every morning. This act anchors your mind. It keeps your thought from wandering into fear or prediction of failure. The written word is a net that catches drifting thought. Autosuggestion is the process by which the written word becomes the lived word. When you write a command daily, you begin to think it. When you think it daily, you begin to speak it. When you speak it daily, you begin to act upon it. When you act upon it daily, you begin to identify with it. When you identify with it, life has no choice but to mirror it. This method will save you years. It will save you from confusion, from false starts, from the endless cycle of enthusiasm followed by retreat. It will save you from drifting back into the patterns that once betrayed you. It will save you from the wasted decades that so many men spend hoping instead of directing. Reflect upon the frustration of your past. Think of the times when things almost worked out, but not fully. When you lacked the final ounce of belief, the final stroke of persistence, the final measure of clarity. Those failures were not the fault of life. They were the fault of an incomplete method. When you complete the method, thought, belief, action, identity, destiny, life becomes predictable. Not easy, but predictable. You begin to know that the result must arrive because the cause has been created. A man who controls cause does not fear outcome. Let me illustrate this with the life of Andrew Carnegie. Before he possessed riches, he possessed the identity of a builder. Before the world called him a titan, he saw himself as one. His identity was formed through daily repetition of a clear purpose. His belief came long before his success. His identity came long before his wealth. Identity is the point at which the method becomes self-sustaining. Once the subconscious accepts the command, "Everything works out for me," you will find that your reactions change, your interpretations change, your courage grows, your choices improve. Success begins to feel natural, not forced. You will walk differently. You will speak differently. You will decide differently. People will notice before you do. They will sense a shift in your energy, your tone, your direction. They will begin to speak of you with new respect. This is not luck. This is identity expressing itself outwardly. When you reach the identity stage, the method no longer requires discipline. It becomes instinct. You act like the man for whom everything works out. You persist like him. You plan like him. You rise like him. And because identity determines destiny, your results match your self-image. Every time you repeat the command, "Everything works out for me," you are not describing the world. You are reshaping it. You are instructing the deepest part of your nature to align with success. You are turning faith into substance. You are turning thought into power. You must speak this command during adversity. You must speak it when the result seems impossible. You must speak it when the bill arrives, when the door closes, when the challenge appears, at the worst possible time. That is when the method proves its worth. That is when the subconscious must hear the voice of authority. Most men abandon the method when conditions become difficult. This is why the method fails them. The method is not meant for calm waters. It is meant for storms. A captain proves his worth not while the sea is still, but when the waves rise. A man proves the strength of his thought not when life is easy, but when life opposes him. If you obey the method during adversity, you will witness something remarkable. Life will bend. Circumstances will rearrange themselves. A way will open where only obstruction existed before doubt will fade. Confidence will grow. This is not magic. It is obedience to law. Life always rewards the man who refuses to retreat from his command. Say the words aloud right now. "Everything works out for me because I direct my thought. Say them again, firmer. Everything works out for me because I refuse drift. Now declare them as identity. Everything works out for me because that is the man I have become. You have learned the method. You are ready to make life obey your will through action. Part 4, making life obey your will through action. There is a point in every man's life when thought alone is no longer enough. He must move. He must act. He must demonstrate to life that he is not merely a thinker, not merely a dreamer, not merely a man who repeats affirmations, but a man who takes the next step with courage, even if he must take it with trembling hands. Action is the bridge between the mind and destiny. Without action, belief remains imprisoned inside the mind. I have seen many men develop strong desire, clear intention, and even disciplined thought, yet fail to rise because they did not act. Action gives substance to faith. Action is the fire that turns thought into form. Action is the visible expression of decision. Without action, a man's belief remains a shadow, interesting but powerless. A man must understand that action makes belief powerful. Belief without action is a myth. It gives comfort but produces nothing. A man may believe he can build an empire, but until he lays the first brick, his belief is only a sentiment. Life rewards only the belief that expresses itself through movement. Look at Henry Ford. When he began, he did not wait for conditions to become ideal. He acted while conditions were unfavorable. He acted without the approval of experts. He acted without the reassurance of friends. He acted before he had proof, before he had resources, before he had structure. His action created the very conditions that others insisted he wait for. Ford's genius was not mechanical. It was spiritual. It was the ability to act when others hesitated. His courage replaced the slow, deliberate caution that paralyzes weaker men. He moved as though the result were already secured. That is the secret of decisive movement. The man acts as though the outcome has already been assigned to him. Action eliminates fear faster than thought alone. A man can sit for hours attempting to think courage into himself, but a single step forward will strengthen him more than 100 silent meditations. Fear cannot survive motion. It dissolves the moment a man walks toward the thing he dreads. Men delay for years and call it planning. Planning becomes a sanctuary for those who fear that their best effort may still result in failure, but no plan gains power until a man acts. Planning is not progress. Action is progress. Planning does not move a man closer to his aim. Action does. A man must not fall in love with preparation. Preparation has value only if it leads to execution. A man who spends years preparing without acting wastes more time than the man who acts imperfectly but consistently. The imperfect action of a decisive man produces more progress than the perfect plan of a drifting man. Decisive movement is a spiritual law. When a man acts, forces unseen move with him. Doors open, people appear, ideas awaken, circumstances shift. The man who waits for conditions to become favorable never sees these forces because they reveal themselves only to the man who acts. I have observed that persistence is loyalty to one's aim. A man who is persistent does not need constant inspiration. He does not need encouragement. He does not need applause. He continues because he has given his word to himself. Persistence is the highest form of self-respect. Life respects the man who continues. He may be bruised, he may be tired, he may be ridiculed, yet he continues. And because he continues, life eventually yields circumstances that once resisted him weaken. Obstacles that once intimidated him shrink. Challenges that once angered him teach him. Persistence is not a loud force. It is a quiet, stubborn flame that refuses to extinguish. Edison embodied this flame. Thousands of failures surrounded him, yet he persisted. His persistence was not emotional. It was deliberate. He acted daily even when results seemed invisible. His actions became the foundation of invention. Think of the lives reshaped by a single act of persistence. Andrew Carnegie was refused opportunity many times before he rose, yet each refusal strengthened his determination. He continued, he acted, he insisted, and the world eventually recognized a man who would not be denied. When a man persists long enough, life begins to trust him. Opportunity visits repeatedly, because opportunity sees that he will not squander it. The drifting man is ignored by opportunity. The persistent man is pursued by it. Persistence trains the world to take a man seriously. Action transforms more than results. It transforms reputation. The man who acts gains credibility in his home. His spouse sees movement instead of excuses. She hears progress instead of promises. She observes that each day he is shaping a future, not merely talking about one. Respect returns to the home when the man moves. Action transforms children as well. Children learn by imitation. They watch their father rise each morning with purpose, and they learn that purpose is a normal part of life. They see him working, planning, striving, and refusing to drift. They see that he commands life instead of waiting for it to treat him kindly. They inherit his strength. Rivals sense action too. They may not say it aloud, but their eyes reveal their recognition. They know you have stepped beyond the stage of talking. They know you have entered the stage of building. They begin to withdraw their silent judgments. They begin to measure their own efforts against yours. Your action becomes a reminder of their hesitation. Setbacks bend when a man refuses to bend. Setbacks have power only over the man who allows them to define him. A setback cannot break a man who has decided that he cannot be broken. Life bends to the will of the man who acts without surrender. When he persists long enough, even adversity becomes an ally. The world respects the man who continues. It respects the man who holds his purpose through hardship. It respects the man who does not quit when others quit. The world respects the man whose actions speak louder than his fears. Action saves decades. A man who acts relentlessly will accomplish in 1 year what a hesitant man cannot accomplish in 20. Drift consumes years, the way a fire consumes wood. Action, by contrast, condenses years of progress into months. This is how a man saves 10, 20, or even 30 years of his life. You must teach your body to obey your mind. When your mind gives the order to act, you must act. Delay weakens authority. Immediate action strengthens it. Every time you obey your own command, you increase your power. Every time you hesitate, you diminish it. Action creates identity. A man who acts daily becomes the kind of man who expects results. His identity shifts from dreamer to doer, from observer to creator, from drifter to commander. This identity becomes permanent only through action. Words plant the seed. Action grows the tree. A man must move quickly, but not carelessly. Speed is not recklessness. Speed is clarity. When a man knows his aim, speed becomes natural. He does not need to pause to question his direction. He knows. Clarity eliminates hesitation. The man who acts decisively becomes immune to the paralysis that stops others. He becomes too busy moving to be disrupted by fear. He becomes too engaged in progress to be delayed by doubt. Action carries him like a current carries a ship. The more he moves, the more the current strengthens. Your mind must not only direct your actions, it must support them. When you act, you must affirm, everything works out for me because I move. When you act again, affirm, everything works out because I refuse drift. Repetition strengthens identity. Identity strengthens action. Together, they form a cycle that builds destiny. Do not underestimate the power of small actions. Small actions performed daily create enormous change. A single disciplined act performed each morning can alter the course of your life. When repeated hundreds of times, it reshapes character, destiny, and reputation. Let me reveal a truth that few men understand. Life applauds movement. Life mirrors movement. Life accelerates when a man accelerates. A man who stands still invites stagnation. A man who acts invites opportunity. Your task is simple. You must become the man who acts while others wait, the man who moves while others hesitate, the man who builds while others dream, the man who continues while others surrender. That man always wins. Action is not merely a choice, it is a declaration. It declares to the world, I am worthy of the result. It declares to your mind, I command my destiny. It declares to your future, prepare a place for me, for I am on my way. Say the words now, I move, I act, I advance. Life obeys me because I obey my purpose. Say them until your body accepts the command. Say them until your hesitation dissolves. Say them until you become the man who does not stop. You are now ready for the final stage, becoming the man for whom everything works. Part 5, becoming the man for whom everything works. There is a stage in a man's development when he no longer hopes that things will work out. He knows they will. He knows it with the same certainty with which he knows the sun will rise, with the same assurance with which he trusts his own breath. This knowing does not come from arrogance. It comes from mastery. It comes from having reshaped his own nature so completely that life must respond in his favor. This is the stage where a man becomes the one for whom everything works. To become this man, you must understand one truth above all. Identity determines outcome. A man's life does not rise to the level of his wishes, it rises to the level of his identity. A man may speak the words, everything works out for me. But unless his identity supports those words, they remain empty sound. The man you are within determines the results you experience without. Identity is the root of destiny. It is stronger than thought. It is stronger than belief. It is stronger than action. Identity governs thought. Identity fuels belief. Identity dictates action. A man acts according to who he believes himself to be, not according to what he hopes he might become. This is why two men may recite the same affirmation, read the same book, make the same plan, yet see entirely different futures. One man acts from fear, the other from certainty. One man hopes the affirmation is true, the other knows it is true. One man moves as a beggar requesting mercy, the other moves as a builder claiming what he has earned. Their identities control their results. If you desire a life where everything works out, you must become the man who expects it as a natural consequence of his character. This is the principle I call identity permanence. Once the subconscious accepts the new self-image, it defends it automatically. It becomes a guardian of your destiny. The subconscious, once trained, becomes fierce in its loyalty. It resists thoughts, actions, and habits that contradict the identity you have chosen. When you declare, I am the man for whom everything works, and reinforce that identity with repetition, action, and persistence, your subconscious begins rejecting every impulse that weakens you. It rejects hesitation, it rejects drift, and it rejects fear. It rejects self-doubt. It rejects the old nature entirely. This is how a man becomes unshakable, not because he is protected from difficulty, but because he is defended by a subconscious mind that no longer tolerates weakness. Rockefeller exemplified this. He was not calm because life was easy. He was calm because his inner identity was anchored. He believed in his destiny with such quiet certainty that external chaos could not reach him. When the world panicked, he remained composed. When markets collapsed, he stood firm. His identity did not permit him to tremble. Carnegie displayed the same steadiness. He walked with the composure of a man who had already achieved greatness long before the world acknowledged it. He was not surprised by success. He expected it. Success was not an event for him. It was a reflection of the man he had already become inside. Edison was unbreakable, not because he never failed, but because his identity did not allow failure to define him. He never saw failure as a verdict. He saw it as a refinement. His identity was that of a creator, a builder, a pioneer. Every setback merely sharpened that identity further. These men did not merely act differently. They were different. They thought from a higher plane. They believed from a deeper place. They moved with the certainty of men whose subconscious had accepted their greatness as law. Your task now is the same, and to become the man for whom everything works because he has become the cause of that outcome. You must understand how identity expresses itself outwardly. A man's identity becomes visible long before his results appear. It shows itself in his posture, his tone, his choices, his discipline, his silence, his presence. Identity is a light that shines through conduct. When you begin to identify as the man for whom everything works, your presence changes. People feel it. They may not be able to articulate what has changed, but they sense it. They sense that your words carry weight. They sense that your actions carry intention. They sense that you have become a man who cannot be moved by trivial fears. Your family will notice first. They will hear steadiness in your voice. They will feel certainty in your manner. They will observe that you no longer speak from a place of hope, but from a place of assurance. Your spouse will feel safe under the strength of your character. Your children will feel pride in the firmness of your demeanor. A family is transformed when the father transforms. A household becomes stronger when the man becomes stronger. A man's identity is not a private matter. It influences every soul in his home. When you become the man for whom everything works out, your family's confidence rises with you. Your rivals will notice next. They will see that you have ceased competing with others and begun competing only with your former self. This unnerves them, for a man who is no longer distracted by comparison becomes formidable rivals fear the man who rises from within, because nothing outside of him can stop him. Opportunity notices as well. Opportunity has always been sensitive to identity. It gravitates to certainty. It gravitates to discipline. It gravitates to the man who moves as though he belongs on the heights. Opportunity does not linger around the drifting, the fearful, the uncertain. It attaches itself to the decisive. When you become this man, everything in your life changes. Difficult tasks become manageable. Obstacles become training. Critics lose their sting. Doubt loses its voice. You begin to see each event, even those that appear unfavorable, as something working for your advancement. This is the greatest secret of the rising man. He sees everything as working in his favor, even when it appears otherwise. When something delays him, he interprets it as protection. When something challenges him, he interprets it as preparation. When something tests him, he interprets it as refinement. When something stretches him, he interprets it as strengthening. Nothing defeats a man who interprets everything as fuel. And this is how everything begins to work out for you. Not because every event is pleasant, but because you have become the man who turns every event into an advantage. Your identity becomes the lens through which you interpret reality. Your interpretation determines your emotional state. Your emotional state determines your actions. Your actions determine your results. Your results reinforce your identity. This cycle, identity arrow, interpretation arrow, action arrow, result arrow, identity, creates a man life cannot resist. But you must reinforce this identity daily through repetition. The affirmation must become your inner command. Everything works out for me. Repeat it with conviction. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Repeat it until your subconscious adopts it as law. Repeat it until your body moves with the posture of a man for whom everything works out. Speak it in the morning. Speak it when difficulty appears. Speak it when opportunities arise. Speak it before sleep. Speak it until your voice shapes your identity. Identity permanence occurs only when repetition aligns with conduct. A man becomes what he repeatedly declares, but only when he acts in harmony with his declaration. Thus, You must behave like the man for whom everything works out. Speak with clarity. Move with purpose. Act with decisiveness. Persist with loyalty. Hold your mind steady. Guard your thought against fear. The man who expects everything to work out must not engage in self-pity, for self-pity is poison to identity. He must not indulge in complaint, for complaint is surrender disguised as expression. He must not entertain doubt, for doubt cracks the foundation of destiny. He must speak only that which strengthens him, act only in ways that advance him, and think only in ways that align with his chosen identity. When identity becomes permanent, fear loses authority. Fear may still whisper, but it cannot command. Doubt may still appear, but it cannot influence. Weakness may still tempt, but it cannot conquer. The man for whom everything works out becomes immune to the forces that once defeated him. He does not ask, "Will this work?" He asks only, "What must I do next?" He does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asks, "How can this serve me?" He does not ask, "What if I fail?" He asks, "How do I rise further?" His identity has changed the questions he asks himself, and therefore changed the answers life gives him. This is how a man saves not only 10 years, not only 20, but potentially an entire lifetime. When a man chooses identity early, life accelerates. When a man delays identity, life withholds reward. Most men discover their identity too late. You must not. Say the words with command now. I am the man for whom everything works. Say them again, firmer. Everything bends for me because I bend myself to law. Now declare them as identity. I do not hope. Everything works out for me because that is who I am. Your future will follow the man you become, not the man you were. Become the man life cannot deny, cannot resist, cannot defeat. Everything will work out for you because you have become the cause. Epilogue, the final command to the rising man. A man reaches a turning point when he can no longer return to the version of himself that drifted, doubted, and delayed. You have reached that point now. You have learned the law, trained the thought, moved with intention, and forged the identity of a man for whom everything works. There is no returning to smallness, because smallness no longer fits the structure of your spirit. You must understand that your former self has ended. You are no longer the man who waited for life to behave before he behaved. You are no longer the man who hoped quietly while doubting secretly. You are no longer the man who made promises by sunrise and abandoned them by nightfall. That man has dissolved because you have replaced him with a man of decision. The path ahead is not governed by chance. It is governed by the identity you have built. Identity directs thought, thought directs action, action directs destiny. You now possess an identity that commands the world rather than reacts to it. You have become the cause, not the effect. And a man who becomes the cause no longer fears the outcome. Each day from this moment forward, you must walk with the calm assurance that everything bends toward your advancement. This is not wishful thinking. It is obedience to law. Life favors the decisive. Life strengthens the persistent. Life honors the disciplined. And you have chosen to embody all three. Therefore, life must honor you. Your family will feel the change long before they see the results. They will watch you move with steadiness instead of fear. They will hear confidence replacing hesitation. They will sense that you have become a man who does not collapse beneath difficulty. You will become their quiet reassurance, their anchor, their proof that strength is possible. Your children will study you as they have always done, but now they will see a different man, one who does not bow to uncertainty, one who does not retreat into excuses, one who does not live by chance. They will inherit your certainty the way other children inherit land. This is legacy. This is leadership. Your rivals will sense the shift as well. They may not speak it aloud, but they will feel the difference in your gaze. They will notice that your voice carries weight. They will recognize that you have transformed from a man who wished for success to a man who expects it. Rivals fear expectation because expectation produces results. You must now carry yourself as a man whose presence predicts his future. Let your tone be calm, your steps steady, your decisions firm. Let your actions declare that you have become aligned with law. Do not speak of your rise, demonstrate it. Let the world discover your ascent through your conduct, not your announcements. Say these words each morning with authority. Everything works out for me because I make it work. These words are not decoration. They are command. They are the hammer and chisel with which you carve your destiny. Speak them until your subconscious accepts them. Speak them until your behavior mirrors them. Speak them until they become the law of your life. From this hour forward, difficulty is no longer your enemy. Difficulty is your instructor. Every obstacle that appears in your path is not hindering you. It is shaping you. Every setback you encounter is not defeating you. It is refining you. Every delay you face is not punishing you. It is preparing you. You are no longer the man who fears resistance. You are the man who grows from it. Understand this truth deeply. There is no punishment in your path, only preparation. There is no rejection in your life, only redirection. There is no failure in your story, only feedback. Everything works out for the man who uses everything. This is the advantage of the rising man. He wastes nothing. He turns all of life into material for his ascent. You will meet moments that once would have frightened you. Now you will meet them with composure. You will face decisions that once would have overwhelmed you. Now you will face them with clarity. You will encounter setbacks that once would have defeated you. Now you will rise through them with dignity. This is the strength of the identity you have built. Every day you must honor the man you have become. Do not drift back into the habits that once betrayed you. Do not entertain the doubts that once diminished you. Do not permit the weaknesses that once controlled you to re-enter your mind. You have risen above them. They belong to a man you no longer are. When you wake, stand with purpose. When you speak, speak with intention. When you act, act with discipline. When you decide, decide with authority. Let every movement of your life reflect the identity you now possess. You are a man who commands his destiny. Behave as such. Repeat this final affirmation until it becomes the marrow of your spirit. Everything works out for me because I rise, I persist, and I decide. Say it again. Everything works out for me because I am the cause. Say it once more with absolute conviction. Everything works out for me every day, every hour, every time. Carry these words with you. Live them, prove them, become them. For the man who becomes the cause becomes unstoppable. And for such a man, and everything works out.